Okay, greetings. I'm not going to take too long with this video, as I've done a couple lengthy ones recently. This will just take a few minutes probably to go through, um, as it was something that I was thinking about today, looking at a thread um, in the Preterist Perspectives and Debate group of Barry Isaacs. And the thread was Don Preston. His video 262 on 1 Corinthians 15, 262 videos, and Revelation chapter 14. And the title I'm putting here for this video is The New Trend, Full Preterism to Full Futurism while still claiming to be a partial preterist. And this is something that I've seen recently. The last few months, a lot of people claiming to be partial preterists when in fact they are not partial preterists. Quick definitions: moderate preterism. Moderate preterism would be one that would say, well, like Philip Moreau would say most of the Olivet Discourse, but he would cut it off at verse 29. Most of it is fulfilled in AD 70. The abomination of desolation, so on and so forth. Even the Adventists, Ellen White, their prophet, is supposedly, in the great controversy, she goes to great lengths in speaking of the abomination being fulfilled in AD 70. But they're not partial preterists, Adventists, they're historicists. So we have moderate preterists, which would have a very minor fulfillment. Then we have partial, then we have full. And we know what full preterism asserts. But a proper partial preterist position, in my opinion anyway, and the top partial preterist authors, scholars that you'll read, Joel McDermott, his book on the parables, which is a pretty good book on the parables. I also like Russell on the parables, J.S. Russell. I thought he did a fabulous job on the parables. But they would, we as a partial preterist, we should see that the parables of Christ, not just the kingdom parables, but most of his parables, if not all of them, were fulfilled at AD 70. Matthew 21 through 23, or Matthew 21 through 24. That section should be AD 70. Luke 13 through 21, or 20. And 21, the Olivet Discourse, should be AD 70. And most importantly, if you deny that Revelation 1 through 19 is not fulfilled in AD 70, you're not a partial preterist. You can cut it off at chapter 19 and be a partial preterist, but you can't say, no, Revelation is future, and be a partial preterist. It just blows my mind of what we're seeing today. But yeah, Barry Isaacs, him and I were talking about this, and it kind of gave me the idea just to speak on this ever so briefly. But yeah, if we look even in Luke 13 through 20, those parables, in my opinion, is AD 70. I mean, how can we not look? Some people would overlook Luke chapter 15, the parables there, and say, that's speaking of personal salvation, the prodigal son, the lost sheep. I believe that's AD 70. We go to Luke chapter 16, the unrighteous steward, that's AD 70. Rich man and Lazarus, that's AD 70. Hey, Wayne, good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Just doing a very brief video on something that was discussed earlier. So Luke chapter 16 would be fulfilled in the fall of Jerusalem as well. Luke chapter 17, of course. So on and so forth. And so it's very disturbing for me to see in the groups people claiming to be partial preterists when in fact they're not partial preterists whatsoever. They're moderate preterists with some bizarre futurist views coming out. And I'm going to lose some friends for saying this, But I don't care. Truth is more important than that. Now, of course, I don't put everything in 80, 70. Not at all. But what I'm saying is, if we do not accept the bulk of the book of Revelation, Revelation 1 through 19, is 80, 70, you're not a partial preterist. You just get preterist out of your name. Gary DeMar, Ken Gentry, the ones that we're very familiar with, they would put the bulk in 80, 70. And there's debate about chapter 21 and 22. Some put that in 80, 70. Some put it in the future, depending on the preterist. But this is something that is concerning me lately, is the fact that we're seeing this in the groups and seeing this in that thread of Don Preston on Revelation 14. Revelation 14 is 80, 70. I don't accept his conclusions on it, maybe. Trying to tie it in with resurrection, but it's most definitely 80, 70. I would suggest anyone read Don's book, Who Is This Babylon? I mean, let's get a couple works out here, and then we're going to end this. As you can see on this table, I got probably a couple dozen works there that I'm working through. But let's see what we can get up here. Just grabbing a few right here. Books are flying. Okay, here's a few. Here's a few that will demonstrate, all right, what we have in the partial preterist. The partial preterist. Now here's Don's book. A lot of people are going to get mad at me, but I'm going to recommend this. Who Is This Babylon? Me coming out of Adventism, and studying eschatology right off the bat, soteriology, wanting to know what the gospel is, what the reformers actually taught, because I was taught as an Adventist that we are the heirs of the Reformation. Then I soon found out that they weren't. And their eschatology. They're big on eschatology. That's how they get people into the church, their Bible prophecy seminars. But when this came along with J.S. Russell, the first three books I read, is it's Don's Who Is This Babylon, The Parousia by Russell, Last Days Madness by DeMar. And I was blown away. But this book here will never be refuted. It'll never be refuted. I agree with 95% of what he says in here, and it's probably one of the greatest tomes written on the book of Revelation I've ever read. And it's just an amazing work, and I still go to it from time to time. But yeah, not just when it comes to the book of Revelation, but eschatology in general. This book here is an amazing work, although some are going to say, oh, you're promoting a hyper-preterist work. Oh, well, it's a work that anyone should read if you're going to study Revelation. If you want one book besides Days of Vengeance by Shilton, this is the one. What else do we have here? Gary DeMar, Last Days Madness, Partial Preterist. What does he put? It's kind of like a systematic refutation in a way of dispensationalism. He puts the bulk of Revelation, 1 through 19, 80, 70. Russell, well, we can leave him out as he wasn't really a partial preterist. Joel McDermott, Jesus versus Jerusalem. Pretty decent work. I love the parables of Christ. And he pretty much puts Luke chapter 9 to 20 as 80-70. And I always thought Luke 13 through 20 was 80-70. We have Shilton. Everyone loves Shilton. Everyone loves Shilton. And I have Days of Vengeance here somewhere. 80-70. 80-70 galore through that. Gentry. 80-70. Piece of Revelation. So, those that want to claim partial preterism but put off revelation to the future, it just will not fly. It will not fly one bit whatsoever. I'm doing this off the cuff, but I'm just responding kind of to that thread on Barry Isaac's group, Preterist Perspective debate and dialogue, June 11th, video 262 of Dawn. So that's about it. But yeah, it's just it's a grave concern for me. And so yeah, if you're not gonna if you're gonna put everything in the future except for maybe a couple texts, don't call yourself a partial preterist or a preterist. Don't even bother. Don't even bother. You're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself. That's my rant for today. See you later, Wayne. Have a good one, buddy. Godspeed, man.